Hi there, this is Tony from Casiotone.ca, and this is my preliminary review on the Casiotone CTS-1 keyboard. I do have a very in-depth and comprehensive review coming, but since I've completed the voices demo part of that review, and the voices really are one of the main highlights of this keyboard, I thought I would include that in a shorter, quick review here. Then once my full review is completed, you can check that out as well. If you subscribe to the channel, which does really help me out, then you'll get notified once the full review is ready. So let's take a quick look at the CTS-1. Casio took a very unique approach with the CTS-1. I'm not sure I've ever seen a keyboard quite like this from any other manufacturer, and here's why. Instead of trying to pack in a massive number of cheaper voices, arranger functions, a screen, tons of effects, Casio went with a very keyboard player and performance-centric quality over quantity approach. Starting with the user interface, it's super simple. It's a player-focused button-driven interface that makes it really easy and fast to select the most common 28 sounds, or to select one of your 7 custom voice registrations that you've saved. And there's also backlit indicators that show your current selections. And in addition to the 7 registrations, there's an 8th one called My Setup that you can set to load when you turn on the keyboard. I use this to have the keyboard shifted down an octave by default. Now for the keys. The CTS-1 has 61 full-sized, touch-sensitive, piano-shaped keys with a matte finish on top. And a nice touch from Casio, there's actually a dust filter behind the keys like you see on more expensive digital pianos, but you never see that on something in this price range. Now while the action is a synth action, the feel on these keys is to me almost semi-weighted, very similar to the semi-weighted keys on the Alesis Recital digital piano. They definitely have a much higher quality and heavier feel than the keys on the Casiotone CTS-200-300 series. So for me, being used to the fully weighted keys on my Yamaha P125 digital piano, I don't find it too bad to go back and forth between those and the keys on the CTS-1. So the voices. Casio equipped the CTS-1 with the newer AIX sound chip, which is a massive improvement over the sound chip in the CTS-200-300 series keyboards. There are 61 voices, actually only 49 in my opinion, if you don't count 12 nostalgic voices that are brought forward from classic 1980s Casio keyboards. But almost all of those main 49 voices are based on some type of keyboard instrument, and almost all are significantly enhanced with extremely well implemented DSP effects. There are even some very unique voices that you won't find on any other Casio instrument. And many of these voices have player-triggered articulation built in, including some very impressive and unique ones. For example, there are 3 pre-padded voices, a piano, a guitar, and a synth, that have a pad that will only sound if you play 3 or more simultaneous notes, which is super cool. And there's an organ where playing with more velocity opens the drawbars. And you can layer voices, you can adjust the relative volume between the layers, you can transpose the layers individually, and you can even enable or disable the sustain pedal effect on each of the layered voices. While it is unfortunate that you can't split this keyboard into 2 sounds, there is thankfully a totally usable piano over bass split included, and that's the split voice combination that I would choose 90% of the time anyways. So here's a video showing the main 28 voices that are accessible using the buttons on the keyboard, as well as that piano bass split. So just to list off the other features quickly, the CTS-1, while it doesn't allow you to modify any of the built-in pre-applied DSP effects, there are 24 types of reverb, including some plates and some delays as opposed to just the usual room, club, and stadium options. And there's also 10 EQ presets you can choose from. There's a very simple one-track, one-song recorder that's a great way to capture a quick idea. And of course, the usual features like metronome and transposing keys are available. For connectivity, there's a 1/8 inch audio in to play along with external audio from a device. There's a 1/4 inch generic sustain pedal port. Make sure you get a pedal with a polarity switch. I'll link to one below in the description that I recommend. There's an 1/8 inch headphone port that doubles as your audio output if you're using external amplification. And there's a USB to device port. It is micro B, so make sure you get the right cable. That allows you to connect to a MIDI compatible device, and there's also a standard type USB jack, type A. But don't get excited, that's not for a flash drive. Its sole purpose is to allow you to connect to Casio's optional WU-BT10 Bluetooth adapter, which will allow you to then use a wireless audio in or as a wireless MIDI connection to a MIDI compatible device. The speakers on the CTS-1 are also a bit of a surprise at this price point. While they're only 5 watts, they're 1 watt stronger than the CTS-300, and they have slightly larger speaker cones than the Yamaha PSR E373. But the big talking points on these are that they are bass reflex speakers, which provide a better bass response by taking advantage of physical ports in the keyboard body. And the CTS-1 has an impressive surround sound feature as well that really enhances the speakers even further. And to cap it all off, the CTS-1 is super portable. It only weighs 10 pounds, it can run on AA batteries, and it even has pins on the back to connect a standard guitar strap. So as I mentioned, I do have a very in-depth and much longer review coming on the CTS-1, but I wanted to get this preliminary review out there for you. I actually bought this keyboard, which officially signifies the end of my search for a portable option for a piano player. And I am super happy with my decision, so I can highly recommend the CTS-1 either as a second portable option for a piano player, or as a main keyboard option for someone looking for something that's super portable, easy to use, and has some amazing sounds. The only situations in which I would not recommend the CTS-1 is if you're looking for an arranger keyboard with rhythms and accompaniment, and the CTS-1 is not an arranger, doesn't have any of those features. Or if this is going to be your main keyboard and having fully weighted hammer action keys is super important to you, which would probably be because you're taking traditional in-person piano lessons on an acoustic piano. While the keys on the CTS-1 do have an almost semi-weighted feel, and I find it pretty easy to go back and forth between playing the CTS-1 and my fully weighted Yamaha piano, they still won't be an accurate representation of the feel of an acoustic piano. So thanks for checking out the preliminary review on the Casiotone CTS-1, and stay tuned for the full review, which should be up within a week or so. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that does really help me out, and if you want to check out current prices on the Casiotone CTS-1, please check out my affiliate links below in the description. Thanks a bunch and happy piano playing.